Welcome to Dice Control Dojo. I'm Phil and I practice daily, share my tips, so we can all get better at the casino. Today, we're talking about more detailing the throw. On past videos, we talked about the large muscle group and then how my circle is supposed to be holding those dice. Centrifugal force is supposed to be taking it. There's an angle going. Today is about the follow through. We're going to talk about follow through with golf, with what my hands and arms are supposed to look at, where height we should be at, and then the thumb, which will be tomorrow. A whole discussion on the thumb. I'm sure you're excited about that. But today, we're going to talk about the follow through. As with golf, and with putting, and with most things that you're doing, you're not going to short your follow through, right? What happens when you short your follow through in golf, right? You could go to the left, the right, you're not following through. It has to be a consistent follow through in golf in order for your momentum to go past hitting the ball. So when you're playing golf, right, if you just stop right at the point of impact, right, your entire muscle structure is not forcing through the ball, and then your ball does random things. Well, dice is the exact same way. And the last word we need to mention is the word random. Random's our enemy. Random, we might as well just toss the dice, right? So today, we're talking about follow through. As with a large muscle group, we have a little backswing, just like in golf, and we're following through. You don't want to short it. Just because the dice release, maybe here, the dice releases, you still have to, you don't want to short your follow through. A lot of things can happen if you don't follow through all the way. So when I'm practicing, the last thing I'm paying attention to is my follow through. So today, a detailed diagnosis of follow through and discussing it is important because a lot of people don't think. You're at this point, you're picking your zone, you're looking, and then you're, using your large muscle group to go, right? So if I shorted it here, so those dice released right about here on my throw, right? If I just stopped right there, there's a lot of things that's going to happen. The dice can bounce off of my fingers. The thumb could have done something wrong. You want to consistently, once the dice release, you want to make sure you're going. I don't care if your hands go way up here. You have to make sure you're following through on it so that it's about the point that the dice release. It's just like the golf ball. The point the dice release, they release here. If you short it, there's a lot of things that can go wrong with that. So just making sure your hands are releasing right. And if you do your release, do it in slow motion, as I've been doing the last few days, and watch your release. Your release should be in the same spot every time. It should be way up here, way past where the dice release. You want to keep that momentum going, right? There's also another thing on the release, on the follow through, is you want to make sure your fingers and thumb are aligned on the throw, because the follow through tells you a lot. If you hold your hand, you'll hold your arm up here. So when you're practicing, just do a bunch of throws that you're releasing and looking at where your arm ends up, right? If your arm is way out here, right, that's a problem. If it's down here, are you coming around in a golf shot, right? You coming inside out, you're going to go that way. Outside in, it's going to curve this way. It's the same exact in dice. You're going to make sure that when you're throwing, you're aligning straight down. And then on the release of your dice, right, your release up here, once they go through, look at your arm. Is your arm out? Is it straight? Did your dice come up the way you wanted it to? I look at my mirror out here for follow through because I can look down this mirror after my follow through, leave it where it is, and I can look, is my thumb straight down? We'll talk about that tomorrow. Are my fingers straight? But did my arm release and keep going so that it was past the impact of the dice releasing out of my fingers? Pay attention to that, because if you do that and you short it, you're going to get over rotation on the spin, and that's something that you don't want to do. You just want the dice to kind of move a backward spin just a little bit. You don't want it super spinning backwards, and then they're going to spin all over the place. Well, that has a lot to do with your shorting your release. Is with every video I talk about. I don't care how far you throw, how angles, as long as you're consistent every single day with the same exact follow through. So are you releasing that arm? It's a straight arm, straight down, slow backswing, follow through, and is my arm at the right angle to make sure that these dice are releasing and my fingers are straight, my thumb is pointing to the direction I want it to go, and it's coming out the same way. This is very going back to basics with making sure your arm is warmed up. This goes to when you're at the dice, at the casino, right? And you haven't thrown for a while. Maybe you've been standing here like this, right? A lot of people lean down, a lot of people sit here, right? Your arm starts getting sore, not sore, gets tight. And your muscle groups, your major muscle groups, are the things that are moving. So when you're in a casino, you got to make sure that shoulder's loosened up and ready to go. Because when you're going to go through and do your throw, and you want to be consistent, this muscle group better be warmed up. And if it's where you're going to have the problem, the major problem with not having a warmed up large muscle group is it's going to do a short follow through. It's going to tighten. It's going to tighten up back here, and you're not going to follow through all the way. The muscles need to be warmed up, the ligaments, the joint got to be loose so that your follow through goes all the way through. It's kind of like in golf, right? If you're not warmed up, or how about the opposite? You're at a practice range and you're on your like 9th drive and it's going great. Well, what's causing that nice drive is you're all warmed up. You're at the practice and you're hitting every 10 seconds. So your shoulder is nice and warm. So of course you hit better at a practice range because you're all warmed up, you're following through, and everything's going straight. And then you get the hole 9, you pull your driver out, and you're like, why did it not go through? Well, your follow through, you tightened up. It could be cold out that day, and you didn't follow through because your muscles are tight. And so when you're in golf, you got to stay loose the whole time, just like in dice. So if you're coming around the table, make sure that arm is loosened up. Just know, when you throw every day on a practice table, you're going to be throwing different than at a table at a casino because you got to wait for it to come around. A lot of factors figure in. One of the major factors is your shoulder tightens up. So you got to keep that loose. We talked about how to keep it loose in a previous video on warming up, right? Go back and look at that. It's got to stay nice and loose. You got to keep this arm nice and ready so when it comes around. So the biggest problem with follow through is your large muscle groups tighten up over the course of time. or it over loosens up while you're practicing. So when you get on the table, it's not the same. So you gotta be consistent, right? Keep your muscles group warm and keep it going so that you have a great follow through. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the thumb. So once you release those, what's your thumb doing? And why is that so important? So check out my video tomorrow. And as always, no matter what somebody's doing, the best betting strategy is to throw for a long time.